So since we're on the topic of MVPs, let's go ahead and see what Magic Johnson said about the MVP race. He wasn't really talking about the MVP race on this. He really was asked. Well, first of all, Magic Johnson was on Byron Scott's podcast, and he just asked him what he thought about the Lakers, and after the Luka trade and all of that stuff. Man, he started talking about how it's great and the offense would be great, but he said when the playoffs start, that's what you really got to keep your eye on, because we seen Luka get picked on in the finals against Boston. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum took turns picking on him, and they just did it again last week when they played Boston. And he was like, "That's what's going to happen in the playoffs, man. They're going to pick on Reeves, they're going to pick on Luka, and we just got to see how that goes, right?" So he was talking about defense and the Lakers and Luka. Then, while he was talking about that, he just happened to mention Denver and Jokic and SGA. And then he just went on the sidebar about the MVP. So let's hear what he said.
So what's going to happen in the playoffs on the defensive end? And so we have to see, because Denver, OKC is the number one team, and young fella.
Oh, he balling SGA?
Yeah. Oh, he's the MVP. He playing, but he got some other guys to go with him too. And so you look at Denver, you look at Oklahoma City, you know these teams, the Clippers, Houston is young. I don't think they'll be. Here come Golden State because of Jimmy Butler and his toughness and he's a defender and he can score and he plays better in the playoffs. Right.
Jimmy
Butler. So you got to be. I think Golden State gonna make a great run because they can do both, defend and score.
The Joker. I mean, we've seen a lot of great players.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion earlier about, where do you put him? But I made the argument you can't put him anywhere near the greats right now. Mm-hmm. But if you look at what he's done at that position, he's kind of changed that position from a center, because he's a guy that can shoot threes. He can post you.
That's right.
He can go to the elbow and you can run your offense through this guy. He's a unique player at that position. What do you think about him?
Yeah, he's best player in basketball right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he reads situations and defense as well. His basketball IQ is off the chart.
Yeah.
And then he beats you because he's off rhythm. And B said the right thing. He's not one of the best yet, but he is up there. And the only thing he can't do like Kareem could do is dominate on both ends.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's what's missing for him.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he's not a big shot blocker.
Right. Defensively, he's a little bit of a liability. To a certain extent. Yeah.
He's the best player in the league. Giannis, it's just amazing. We do have some great young talent that's in the league, but Shea is the MVP, and he got the best record in the league. When you have the best record and you balling like Shea's been balling, you got to give him the MVP this season.
Very interesting stuff, man. There's a lot of things he said. Let's just get the one thing out the way. He said SGA is the MVP. He said that twice. He said Jokic was the best player in basketball, right? A lot of people think the MVP is the best player in basketball at the same time, right? I don't think the MVP and the best player in basketball is synonymous. I don't think, I think a lot of people think if someone other than Jokic get the MVP, that you're also saying that they're a better basketball player than Jokic, and that's not the case. MVP is something totally different. MVP is just based on that season. MVP does not have any implications on who the best player in basketball is. It's just based on that season. Now, I do think SGA is a better basketball player than Jokic, so that's just a whole topic for another day. I think SGA is the best player in the league, in the face of the league right now. But that's my opinion. I like people that play on both ends of the floor at an elite level, or a good level, or a great level. But being great on one end and then a liability on the other end, that doesn't fit well for me. For the best player in basketball, right? You can say the best offensive player, but the best player, you got to include defense, right? And we're going to get to some of that defense as well, because I mean, being a liability is not It's not lit like that. That's not what we supposed to be promoting. Liabilities on defense, right? So and Magic kept mentioning defense. He kept mentioning defense, and he mentioned it 3-4 times. Defense. He said Golden State is going to be good because they can do both. They can defend and score. He just kept saying defense, right? So that goes to show you, like, it's a defense is a real thing. Like, when you watch basketball, like I don't understand. I guess some people close their eyes when defense has been played. I don't know. It's weird. Like, do you not see the defense? You only see the team with the ball. Like, I don't understand how y'all watch basketball and be like, yeah, defense ain't that important. Let's just talk about this offense. Like, every award, the only reason why we play the game is to win. So everything must be geared toward winning. Number one. Number two, defending has to be up there. There's 3 priorities in basketball. The ultimate goal is to win. So that's the number 1 priority. But it's 2 ways that you can secure that win, right? 2 things you must do. 1, you must score more points than the opposing team. 100% of the time. Now you can go back and check the record books. Maybe there was a game that I missed, but last time I checked, the team with the most points won every NBA game. Y'all let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if there's a game where a team with the least amount of points actually won it. I haven't seen it yet, but from my memory, the team with the most amount of points at the final buzzer is the team that won 100% of the time. So scoring is it's high priority. That's why all the MVP candidates are great scorers. That's why the highest paid players are great scorers. Scoring is that's what you have to do to win, right? And what helps to score more points than the other team is if you can stop them as well. Because if you got a great scorer that can score, but they're also giving up the same amount of points that they're scoring, you're at a net. You just broke even, right? So you got to score and defend, and all of that goes towards winning, because that's the only reason why we play. So those 3 things are the number 1 priority, all together. It's like the Holy Trinity, all in one: winning, scoring, defending. Nothing else matters. You can win a game with the least amount of rebounds. You can win a game with the most amount of rebounds. So rebounds is not as important as scoring or defending. Assists is not as important as scoring or defending. There's nothing more important than scoring and defending. There's nothing. Scoring or offense is 50% of the game, and the other 50% is defense. There's no way around it. You can't exclude defense in any of these conversations where you're talking about who the best player is, who the greatest player is, who the MVP is, who's first team all NBA, who's an all-star. You cannot exclude defending, winning, and scoring. You can't get around those things, right? All right, so I'll beat a dead horse a little bit. All right, so let's get into this MVP really quick. Y'all seen that graphic a number of times. Offensive value, defensive value, and team success. How do we measure team success? Well, your team record is one easy way to measure team success, but your team seeding, like right now, OKC is ranked number 1 in the West. That's very important. And your offense and defensive rating. Why is that important? Because, say for example, I say SGA leads the league in scoring, right? And okay, that's good. He's scoring a lot of points. Now, how's that helping his team? Well, him leading his team and the league in scoring has resulted in his team being the number 1 scoring offense in the league. Okay, that's significant. Now, how did that translate into winning? Him leading the league in scoring has resulted in his team being the number 1 scoring offense, which has resulted in his team having the number 1 record in the West. Okay, that's significant to me, because now that shows me that your scoring is directly proportional and connected to your team's success in the way of the win column and in the way of where your team is rated at in offense and in scoring. So that's good. Now, on the opposite end, if SGA was leading the league in scoring, and I'll be like, okay, so how is that translating to his team success? And your team is like 20th in scoring, then I'm gonna be like, that's in vain. What about the win column? All right, they're in the 5th seed in the West. No, that now your 30 points a game doesn't look as good as the 30 points a game that resulted in the number 1 rated offense or the number 1 scoring offense and the number 1 team record wise in the West, right? If that makes sense, right? Now, does this work in a negative way? Yes, it does work in a negative way. Say, for instance, Nikola Jokic, we know he's a liability on defense. Say it with me. The best ability in basketball is availability, but the worst ability in basketball is a liability. And Jokic is a liability on defense. How is that translating to his team success in a negative way? Well, his horrible defense has led his team to be 25th rated defense. That's below the bottom, right? I can show you that again. They're 25th, and the op points per game all the way to the right. They giving up 117 points a game. That's 25th. So his horrible defense is directly proportional to a very negative stat of giving up 117 points a game, right? And that's why his team ain't number 1 in the West, right? So that's how I look at MVP. I need to see that offense and defensive value, and I need to see both of those things lead to team success. And whoever reach those heights at a higher level will get heavier consideration for MVP in my book, right? Now some people would say, "Oh man," but they're number 3 in the West right now. They're tied for number 2 in the West with Houston. So they right behind OKC. But no, I'm not gonna say they right behind OKC. I got Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Phoenix Suns highlighted for a reason, right? If you look at their record, squared or circled in the red, you will see that there's a 12 there's a 12 game difference between the Thunder and the Nuggets in the standings. The Thunder have 12 more wins than the Nuggets do. Even though the Nuggets are only 2 seeds behind them, I want to show you that 12 wins is the same distance between the Nuggets and the Suns. The Suns are down there at the 11th seed. They're 12 wins away from the Nuggets, just like the Nuggets is 12 wins away from the Thunder. Let that sink in, right? Let that sink in. So now you're starting to see how this MVP thing shape out. I also want to show you how it's funny that the MVP, the goalpost moves so much. It moves every year. And it's pretty much, how can we figure out a way to award someone the MVP that's playing triple-double basketball? Like we're falling in love with the triple-double, right? I want to start by showing y'all 2021, 2022 MVP race that Nikola Jokic won. This is the year that the Denver Nuggets was in the 6th seed, right? Let me show you. If you look to the right and you look at the highlighted Denver Nuggets, 48 wins, 34 losses, 6th seed. Now, if you look at all the teams that had more wins than them, it's 10 from East and West. It's 10 teams better than the Denver Nuggets that season. The MVP voters went all the way down to the 6th seed in the West to find the MVP of the league and gave him 91 of the 101 votes for MVP. They went all the way to the 6th seed and said, there's your MVP. Why? because he almost averaged a triple-double. This is after Westbrook won MVP, averaging a triple-double, and then averaged a triple-double the very next season and didn't win MVP. So they set a precedence that the triple-doubles don't matter no more. It doesn't automatically get you MVP. Just to change and move the goalposts again and say, we're going to give it to a guy for almost averaging a triple-double. 26, 11, and 8. 8 assists. Almost averaged a triple-double. Was so fascinating to them. We've never seen a center with this many assists, almost average a triple-double. We have to give him an MVP. I know he didn't average a triple-double, and I know Westbrook has already done this 3 times. But we have to give him the MVP because he almost averaged a triple-double, and he's a center. You got to give it to him. But his team's not winning. Let's figure something out. Let's figure out some type of narrative that will help him out, right? What was the narrative that year? Well, he lost 2 key players. Jamal Murray had, I think, ACL surgery, so he missed the entire season. And Michael Porter Jr. only played 9 games that season. Now, remember, these are the same guys that are trash, according to Jokic fans. They're trash, and they're not all-stars, so it shouldn't matter if Jokic lost them. Jokic was making them better anyway, right? So just make another player better, and that'll work, right? Whoever the backup was, make them Jamal Murray. Make them Michael Porter Jr. if they just insignificant like that, right? But they said since he was missing 2 key players, it's okay for him to be at the 6th seed and win the MVP. Remember, Kobe Bryant didn't win the MVP against Steve Nash because his team was in the 6th seed. But the goalpost didn't have wheels that year. So Kobe couldn't win an MVP because he was in the 6th seed. So give it to Nash because the Phoenix Suns had the best record that year. Well, you know what's funny? The Phoenix Suns had the best record this year as well. 64 wins, 18 losses. And there was a point guard that's on Steve Nash level, Chris Paul. He got 2 first place votes because he showed up to Phoenix and they end up having the best record in the league and got the number 1 seed. But Chris Paul was only averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists. That's very similar to what Steve Nash was averaging when he won his 2 back-to-back MVPs. And the reason why they said it's okay for him to win with only averaging 16 and 9, while you had Kobe Bryant with averaging 35 and all these other players averaging 25, 28, Steve Nash got 2 straight MVPs while averaging 16 and 9 because his team 1 year was the number 1 seed and had the number 1 rated offense. But here's Chris Paul with the number 1 seed averaging about the same points and assists that Steve Nash was averaging and just showed up to Phoenix and turned them into a contender. But that wasn't good enough for the voters. We can't use that same Steve Nash logic for Chris Paul, but we'll move the goalposts and give a 6 seed the MVP, even though we couldn't do it for Kobe. Very peculiar. Got 91 votes out of 101 votes, right? In a 6 seed, all because he was missing his 2 key players. But guess who else was missing 2 key players this year? Just guess, y'all. Guess who missed 2 key players this year? SGA was missing 2 key players this year, y'all. Right? SGA was missing 2 key players this year. Let me see if I'm missing something. So here's OKC this season. Right? 56 wins, 12 losses. If you see in the red box highlighted in yellow, defensive rating, they're giving up 107 points. Oh yeah, they're like first and that stuff, right? Points they score, they're like second, so that's translating. Turnovers, they're turning the teams over. They're first in steals. Which is great because what SGA do on defense is get steals. He's getting about 2 steals a game, and So that's helping his team be rated 1 in steals. Defensive rating great. All that is translating, right? What he's doing on offense is translating to his team being seated high and rated high in those categories. Same thing as defense, and then he's got more team success than Denver Nuggets. Clear-cut MVP. That's before you get into all the other stuff. You know, how many times he scored 40 and all the other stuff is cool. But for the most part, it's easy he's the MVP, right? All right. But remember, he came into the season, he didn't have Hartenstein, which was a big man. He was hurt. And then he lost Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren only played about 22 games this season. So he lost Chet Holmgren very early. Those are 2 key players that he really needed, especially how this team is constructed. They needed him for rebounds. They needed Hartenstein and Holmgren. They needed both of them for rebounds and defense and shot blocking and guarding bigs, but he didn't have neither one of them. I remember when Chet went down and everybody was like, what is SGA going to do now? He don't have no big man at all. Dwight Howard tweeted, I'm still available. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I remember, I want to say Barkley may have said, this is going to be real big how he responded is for the MVP this season. And he responded and kept his team afloat at the number 1 seed. It's clear cut who the MVP is. But they keep moving the goalposts. When Jokic was in the 6th seed, they said that the reason why that was okay is because he lost 2 key players on his team, 2 key starters. But when OKC lost 2 key starters, he didn't drop to the 6th seed. He stayed at the number 1 seed. So which one is better? Losing 2 key starters, dropping to a 6th seed, and we giving you the MVP, or someone losing 2 key starters and keeping their team at number 1? We didn't even have to question. If SGA would have dropped to the 6th seed, do you think anyone that had votes would have made, you think anyone in the media would have made an excuse for him and said, it's okay for him to be in the 6th seed because he lost 2 key starters. Let's give him the MVP anyway. Do you think anybody would have said that? But yet we make that excuse for Jokic, right? Mind you, Steph Curry, that's the year they won the finals when Jokic got their MVP out of the 6th seed and met the Golden State Warriors in the first round, and he only got 1 game out of it. Golden State Warriors sent him home quick. Steph Curry was averaging 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. 32, 6, and 6. He got 5 first place votes and was the number 3 seed in the West. So winning more games than the Nuggets, being a 3 seed, winning 50 plus games, averaging 32 points a game. He might have led the league in scoring that year. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, playing lights out. And then they got to the finals and won. He got 5 first place votes, but he couldn't get more than that. Why? Chris Paul, he had a Nash-like year when Nash won it. Number 1 seed. Then Devin Booker was averaging 26, 5, and 5 that year. He didn't get not 1 vote. Right? So I'm looking at the Suns, I'm looking at the Warriors. They had MVP candidates on that team. Why they didn't get more votes? Then you go over to the East and you see Boston and Jason Tatum. Then you see Giannis, and then you see Embiid. All great candidates. All great candidates, right? So here's what OKC is at. I mean, this is just ridiculous, y'all. This is ridiculous, right? So a liability on defense, y'all. So defense don't matter, winning don't matter. Only thing that matters now, the only narrative that matters now is how close to a triple-double are you? And the crazy thing about it is all those years that he got 3 MVPs, all of those years he almost averaged a triple-double. One year he averaged 8 assists, one year he averaged 9 assists. So the logic is, well, if we gave him an MVP for averaging a triple-double in the 6th seed, not averaging a triple-double, almost averaging a triple-double in the 6th seed, anything that if he almost averaged a triple-double and he's anywhere above the 6th seed, you have to give it to him again. Like once you set that precedent that we'll set the bar so low that a 6th seed will win the MVP because he almost averaged a triple-double. All he got to do is keep playing the same triple-double style basketball. And the team is too good to ever fall below a 6th seed if they're healthy. So the precedents that they set is confusing so many media people and voters because they don't know what the criteria is. If you went all the way down to a 6th seed to get an MVP because he almost averaged a triple-double, all he got to do is keep almost averaging a triple-double, and he should get the votes again. But he did you one better this time. He actually is averaging a triple-double this year. So averaging a triple-double is better than almost averaging a triple-double, and anything above the 6th seed is obviously better than the 6th seed. So now you in a trick bag where you have to give it to him again. Like if you ever voted for him, you have to vote for him again because he actually did better than what he did when y'all voted for him. That's why you're never supposed to make exceptions and set the bar low. You should never be going to a 6th seed to find your MVP. You should never be going to the 11th best team in the league to find your MVP. I don't care who's hurt. It don't matter who's out or who's hurt. You can't start making excuses like that. Oh, man, he lost his second best player, man. So, we'll look past him losing all these games and being in the 6th seed and being the 11th best team in the league. Yeah, we look past that. You only won one game in the playoffs against the Warriors. Yeah. Draymond Green guarded you without a double. They put you the MVP. Yeah. So all the narratives that work for Jokic don't work for nobody else. Kobe was in the 6th seed. That didn't work for him. They said MVP didn't, the Joel Embiid didn't deserve his MVP because he got put out in the first round, but Jokic got put out in the first round by the Warriors. No one ever said he didn't deserve their MVP. They said that he didn't have his second best player. SGA didn't have his second best player with Chet and another key player with Hartenstein, but that didn't work for him. They said he almost averaged a triple-double. Westbrook actually averaged a triple-double, and that didn't work for him. He didn't get his second MVP. Right? So all the goalpost has moved so much, and it moves for every year he won the MVP, it was a different criteria that they use. Or not even a different criteria. It was a different excuse they use to cover up things that, obviously should have made him not the number one candidate. Right? Being in the 6th seed, you shouldn't have. No, that shouldn't have happened. But yeah, I'm off my soapbox, y'all. I just thought that was interesting, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. I catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.